All right, dude. We are. Oh shit! Holy shit, dude. Um, let's try that again. All right, dude. We are live. What's up, guys? This is Dem Keys, and today, we are gonna be continuing learning about Godot. More specifically, we're gonna be diving into the Rust scripting side of things. Uh, so yeah, I'm excited for that. Give me a second here while I load up a stream that I was trying to load up. I've been making some progress. I've been off stream. I've been doing research on Proxmox. Every now and then I like to do research on Proxmox because a couple months back I'd come across a video of somebody who was showing off their home lab setup, and I liked the idea there. Um, like I liked the tech that I was seeing, and that's how I got introduced to Proxmox. I didn't know what it was, and then I heard this person talking about how they've got a couple of different um, nodes, quote unquote nodes within their lab setup. They have like a Raspberry Pi. They have maybe an HP mini PC or some other form of mini PC, and they have like multiple of these things stacked together, and the entire thing can be controlled through Proxmox. And then I was like, okay, what is Proxmox? Let me do some research on it. And that's when I learned that this is actually what I've been looking for um, in terms of setting up my own workflow. Quite literally, I've been looking to set up a home lab setup because, especially considering the fact that a lot of my workflow is now terminal based, I can very, very heavily benefit from benefit from a home lab kind of setup, a Proxmox specifically kind of setup. And I love the fact that you can. So, okay, you have Proxmox. Apparently, Proxmox allows you to create both VMs and um, LXCs. I believe the full form of that is Linux container, or I don't know if the X stands for something else, but yeah, and LXC is essentially a very lightweight Linux container. So it's a container that will act as the OS, um, but it doesn't contain the kernel because the kernel is part of the Proxmox installation, and Proxmox manages a bunch of these LXCs, and all of these LXCs share the same kernel, which is what Proxmox provides. And because of this kind of setup, these containers tend to be incredibly lightweight and really quick to set up, really quick to start up as well. And yeah, yeah. So I've been doing a bunch of research on um, the types of setups that I could create. Do I need like multiple containers, or is one container enough? Um, what uh, what considerations should I take into account, or what things should I take into account? Okay, forget about taking into account. Just in general, I've been trying to understand how this tech is working. I've been trying to understand the whole tech stack there. It took me some time to wrap my head around the fact that, okay, you've got Proxmox, which is kind of an OS in itself, and it provides a kernel, and Proxmox itself is its responsibility, or its functionality, its duty is mainly to manage these different LXCs and probably VMs as well. But like I haven't dived too deep into the VM side. I'm not, words, holy shit. I'm not really interested in the VM side of things, because the container side of things, it seems like whatever I'm trying to do, it can be done with LXCs instead of VMs. So like with a VM, there's going to be a much a much heavier overhead compared to the LXC, and I'm not really looking for that. I'm literally looking for these lightweight containers in which I can set up and run programs. So, for example, one LXC is going to be, and uh, the stuff, as far as I know, it's all terminal based. So like you are given a shell that you can operate in. I am currently also doing research on the GUI side of things. More specifically, like, is it possible to have a desktop environment set up with this? Because the way that this is supposed to work, apparently, I haven't tested this out practically. I'm still trying to decide which specific machine of mine I want to install this on. I do have one machine in mind. That machine currently has a 1 TB hard disk, out of which only like 200 GB is being used. So, what I'm thinking is I'll shrink the home partition down to maybe 500 GB, and then that'll give me the other 500 GB to do whatever I want with using Proxmox. That 500 GB should be enough. And the laptop that I'm planning to do this on, it has it has 6 GB of RAM and a Core i5 processor, and as I mentioned, the 500. Well, it has a 1 TB hard disk, but for Proxmox, I'm going to give um, 500 GB. So the other 500 can be for Ubuntu Studio, which is the other OS that's running there. I do I do wanna test this out. I do want to play around with this. Something that made me even more interested in doing like a Proxmox kind of setup, doing a home lab kind of setup using Proxmox specifically, is the idea of what do you call it? Wait, sorry. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Also, I think the beeping is back. The very horrible sounding beeping. Give me a second. Let me just. Yeah, dude. It's very audible. I do not know how to get rid of this, and I haven't had the chance to test out the thing that I was gonna try, where I was gonna put um I was gonna connect this audio interface to my desktop, so I wouldn't have this like disturbance, this interference coming in. Give me a second. Let me just see. Disturbance. This interference coming in. Oh God, dude, that sounds horrible. Hold on. I need to try something. Okay. Let me just check now. Yeah, no, it's still coming. It's the disturbance is still coming through. Um, what do I do? Oh, yeah. Um, I don't know if I should continue because I don't know how annoying it's gonna be to listen to this. Okay, you know what? It's not that bad. I mean, okay, it's not great, but like I'm only able to hear it as in, well, no, I'm still able to hear it, um, even when the volume is low, but it's a relatively low beep. So I think I'll let it go. I can't really do anything about it. I completely forgot about this, by the way. Completely forgot about it. That's crazy. I completely forgot about this. I need to find another way to do this. I need to find a way that um doesn't cause this. But first, I do want to test this out with my desktop to see if there is any disturbance coming through. Because when I disconnect this mic from the, what do you call it? When I disconnect this mic from the laptop and connect it back in, the disturbance is kind of still there. So, um, yeah, I don't know how to fix this, especially if it's because of something within the laptop itself. Because according to Gemini, and actually according to a couple of forums as well, this tends to happen with laptops because the hardware in them is so tightly packed that sometimes the shielding between components that are supposed to be shielded from each other, it's not the best, or I don't know if it like wears off over time. I don't know if that's a thing, but sometimes it's just not the best. And with something like audio, specifically audio input, it can pick up the disturbance. It can like those that that lack of shielding or the bad shielding. It can cause interferences to show up within the audio. Um, so I'm not sure how to go about this. Anyways, let's just get started. So I'm excited to test out Proxmox, because Proxmox, well, Proxmox and LXCs. I'm excited to test out both of them because I like the idea of just running a very lightweight Linux container. Oh yeah, let me Google, because I'm curious now. What exactly is LXC? Oh, it's just Linux container. Okay. Right. So Gemini says, I mean, I looked up LXC, and here's a little um, small definition that Gemini has given. LXC, or Linux containers, is an OS level virtualization method that provides lightweight, isolated environments or containers sharing the host's Linux kernel. It allows multiple Linux systems to run simultaneously with high performance and lower overhead virtual machines. LXC is commonly used for system containers, offering a full Linux environment, frequently managed by tools like LXD or Proxmox. I didn't know LXD was also a thing. I can look into that. I'm still leaning more towards Proxmox because there is support for LXCs in it. But yeah, I need to. I can. I don't need to. I should. Well, words. Holy shit. I might look into LXD as well. But for the time being, I'm mainly interested in LX LXCs with Proxmox. Um, yeah. I need to find a good, because okay, here's the thing, right? A couple of years back, I was gifted a Raspberry Pi, and I never fully set up the. I never fully like tested the thing out. To this day, I haven't had the chance to run it. I did try to flash an OS that would run on the Raspberry Pi. It was one of the Ubuntu OSs, or it was the Raspberry Pi version of Ubuntu. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Um, yeah, it was a Raspberry Pi version of Ubuntu. I flashed the memory card with it, and then inserted the memory card into the Raspberry Pi, hooked it up to a display, and then tried to power it. The problem was, I assumed that the Raspberry Pi would be able to be powered off of a phone charger. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It doesn't always work out that way because I believe the voltage requirement is more, or the current requirement. I don't think it's the current. I think it's the voltage. I think it's a voltage requirement that's slightly more than what phone chargers can provide, and that slightly more is what makes it so you might end up in a situation where the Raspberry Pi is being underpowered and it's going to start malfunctioning. In some cases, it might not even boot properly. I know that the thing was receiving power because there was some sort of LED that switched on. But other than that, I wasn't getting anything. Because of this, I don't even know if I flashed the memory card properly. And yeah, I have no idea if I did any of that properly. I should look into if there's a way. So another thing I wanted to do is, with that Raspberry Pi, I wanted to try doing a PXE boot um, without using the storage of the Raspberry Pi. So I would set up, I forgot what that entire setup was called, but basically it's a thing where you can set up a server on another machine which manages headless instances. Um, and the Raspberry Pi can be a headless instance in this case. So what you would do is, this Raspberry Pi would be connected to the same network as your other machine, and from that machine, you can boot up the Raspberry Pi. I'm assuming you can also like boot it through whatever dashboard it is, or maybe you have to manually boot it. I don't know. But once the thing is booted, you can load up an OS into the machines into the Raspberry Pi's memory, and just have the thing running that way. It never touches any sort of storage, so you can just have the thing running as essentially a compute node. That's kind of what I wanted to try out. The it's a bit complicated to set that up because especially if you're trying to avoid doing any storage related stuff on the Raspberry Pi, or even if it's, let's say, a laptop that you want to do PXE boot from, but you don't want to use the hard drive, you want everything to be running off of the memory, then you have to handle the storage on another machine. And then there's going to be some sort of network storage protocol that's going to be used to constantly send things back and forth between, the server machine, which has the hard drive, and the compute machine, which is basically providing the CPU and RAM. Okay, all right. Enough about Proxmox. Give me a second here. I just need to do something, and then we will get started with this. Oh yeah, I was also looking up Godot Rust because I needed words. I needed to copy the GD extension code because I don't know what's supposed to go in there. I guess we can start reading the thing from the beginning. Actually, okay, we're gonna need to have both of these running side by side. Just a second. Let me do the thing that I was talking about doing. Okay, all right. So, we actually, there's one last thing I need to do before I properly dive into this. Just need to make sure certain things are loaded and certain things are unloaded, and then we should be good to go. All right, this page is loading up, and then we have this page once that page loads up. Awesome. Okay, transition back. Um, Let me just make sure we have, I think, yeah, I think that's as good as it's gonna get. Okay, all right. So, let's get started. So, we are gonna be looking into the creating your first script section of the Godot docs, but also side by side because we are not using GD script. Instead, we are using Rust um, through the Godot Rust plugin, I guess I should call it, or crate or library. Through Godot Rust, we're going to be um, able to do Rust coding for Godot. Because we are doing that, so we also need to have this documentation open. So we're going to be constantly switching between these two. Um, and hopefully by the time we get to the end of this, which is here, yeah, hopefully by the time we get to the end of this, we will have learned both scripting in Godot and more specifically Rust scripting in Godot. It kind of helps that I have done this before because I did years ago when I had looked into Godot, because people were suggesting using GD script instead of doing C sharp, and because C sharp didn't at the time, I don't think it had like first class support. So I mean, they were still working on it, and they were getting really close to it. shortly after, I moved away from Godot and started doing my other stuff. I believe they did make it like a first class. They did give it first class support. I don't remember the specifics around that to be able to give you proper information. Um, yeah, I don't remember exactly what my reasoning was for. I think it was mainly the point or it was mainly the fact that quite a lot of people would be mentioning that GD script is very tightly integrated with Godot. And because I was a beginner in Godot and didn't know anything about it, so I was like, okay, the thing that provides the least amount of friction and the best support, I should probably go with that language. And since GD script is Godot's native language, so I was like, yeah, let's go with that. Anyways, I did GD script for a little while. I made a little simple hello world type of application, and that introduced me to a couple of things in Godot here and there, and then I just moved away from Godot. So I have I have a little bit of experience with GD script and more specifically doing scripting stuff in Godot. So that'll be a little helpful here. I think that might help avoid a lot of things that could otherwise be confusing. But for the most part, I guess we can consider this as, starting from a clean slate. Anyways, creating your first script. In this lesson, you will code your first script to make the Godot icon turn in circles. As we mentioned in the introduction, we assume you have programming foundations. This tutorial is written for GD script, and the equivalent C# code is included in another tab of each code block for convenience. Okay, all right. To learn more about GDScript, its keywords, and its syntax, head to the GDScript section. To learn more about C#, head to so and so. All right. Project setup. Please create a new project to start with a clean slate. I don't want to do that. What I'm what I'm gonna do is I think I'll just create a new scene. Or you know what I could do? Hold up. So we'll save the scene, close this, close this, close this. We'll keep node O1, keep the icon, the label. I wonder why the label is blue, as in the label scene is blue, but what do you call it? Ball is the ball scene is not blue. Neither is main or node O1 or wall. Is it because it's open? No, why is it blue? Yeah, I'm confused about that. I'm not sure. Is it maybe because it's a UI kind of thing? Yeah, what if I did that? Let's let's try creating a new thing and do user interface. Actually, let's not do user interface. Let's create label again. Okay, and then save it as some what am I typing there? Some underscore label. Sorry, I'm not able to see very well because the text is a little bit small, or rather the monitor is a little far away. Once I do the same thing on the other system, where I have a higher resolution and a slightly bigger monitor, then things should be much easier. Okay, so we'll save this and some label O1. Oh, is this blue because this is our what do you call it, the project's main scene? I think that might be the reason. What if I make something else? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's because that was the main scene. So if I make something else the main scene, then that scene becomes that scene shows up as blue or with blue text in the file system doc. All right. Let's set label to the main scene and delete main. And ball, let's not delete node O1. Actually, okay, the reason I made node O1 was because I was hoping that, um, actually, no, let's keep. So the reason I kept node O1 was because I was hoping that whenever I open up OBS on the Ubuntu desktop, where Godot is being captured right now, um, whenever I open it up and have node O1 open, the window name is going to show as node O1.tscn hyphen Godot Rust project, whatever the entire name is supposed to be. But more specifically, it's gonna have like a fixed name. It's gonna have like a predictable name. It's gonna have a predictable name, and so um, OBS is going to be able to find the thing, or more specifically, that scene source is going to be able to find the window. But that doesn't seem to be happening because the past few streams when I've tried this, I've had to set the Godot window manually. Um, so if I'm having to do that anyways, then I don't see the point in having Node O1 present. Um, but I guess having Node O1 present is going to be, it's going to give a sort of template to follow. Hold on, this is interesting. So, oh, the focus, it's where the focus is. Right, okay. How do I bring the focus to this? Probably like this. Okay, all right. There we go. Yeah. Now I'm slowly getting it. I also need to delete wall. So let's remove that. We don't need ball either. Don't save. We don't need some label. Don't save. I think I just deleted label as well. Don't save. Uh oh wait, no, I didn't delete label. Okay. All right. Um all right. So now, hold on. Give me a second. I'm just going to take a quick break and I will be back. Okay, sorry about that. I am back, and I think we are still good on. Yeah, okay. All right. Dude, you know what? I'm like so tempted to try and find these mini PCs because I'm sure somebody here, some business here might be using these mini PCs. Oh God, my OBS just froze. Are we good? Give me a second. Okay, I think we are good. Yeah, I think we are good. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm tempted to go and look for if somebody is selling some of those mini PCs, even like the low end ones, like dude, extremely low end ones. I could still benefit from them. I'm legitimately not looking for anything high end. I don't even want like a GPU in it. I just want CPU and RAM. And if I'm able to get something as low end as even, I don't know, 8 GB with a Core i5 processor, I'm happy with that because that will give me a starting point. That'll give me something to sort of build up on. Also, according to Gemini, Proxmox has the ability to do clustering, so you can manage the hardware for multiple different machines using one Proxmox setup. I don't yet know how exactly you set something like that up because I'd imagine you might need to install Proxmox on all of them. I don't know how the let me hold on. Yeah, because my best guess would be that you would have to install Proxmox on all of them and then set up the cluster. So Proxmox knows that okay, in terms of creating containers, the containers require hardware, so we can use this hardware or we can use that hardware, and then within that hardware, there's probably going to be these different other existing containers. So then we can like manage all the containers based on the hardware that it's using. But that's just my guess. I don't yet know. Give me a second. I'm just gonna look this up real quick. Hey, so I'm looking into Proxmox to set up a home lab at some point. Um, I don't have a fancy setup. I do have old, for the sake of this example, I'm just going to say old laptops, two specifically, two to be precise. They are on the same network. I want to install Proxmox on one of them, but I do want both of their hardware to be manageable. Um, manageable. How do you spell manageable? Okay, manageable and usable through Proxmox. In another convo, you have mentioned to me that Proxmox supports clustering. Can you go into some more detail about how that oh about what that setup looks like and how that setup works? Because I want to be able, I think I've mentioned this before, but I do want both of their hardware to be manageable. Yeah, okay. All right, let's see what Gemini says. Okay, setting up a Proxmox cluster with two old laptops is a classic pro move for a home lab. It lets you manage both machines using a single browser tab. Uh, no, sorry, it lets you uh, manage both machines from a single browser tab, move virtual machines between them, and gives those old batteries a second life as a built-in UPS. Okay, okay, cool. However, a two-node setup has a specific quirk called the split brain, called the split words, dude, called the split brain problem that you'll need to handle to make it stable. The setup, the single pane of glass. When you cluster two Proxmox nodes, they aren't just connected, they become a single entity. Oh, how is the hardware being used together then? That's interesting. Okay, okay, let's continue reading. Unified management. You log into the IP of either laptop and you'll see both laptops in the sidebar. Okay, you can start a VM on laptop A while sitting on the interface of laptop B. I I probably should have mentioned. Okay, wait. By the way, there is. By the way, I intend on using both those laptops in headless mode. Additionally, I have an Ubuntu desktop, um, which I intend to use as the sort of control panel for Proxmox. I will also be SSHing into the Proxmox controlled. Oh, OBS is freezing. Nope, we are good now. Okay. Proxmox controlled nodes um, on the Ubuntu desktop using the Kitty terminal. Just thought I'd mention that. Also, no VMs, only Ubuntu LXCs. Okay, setting up a Proxmox container with two old laptops is a great way to breathe life into aging hardware. Since you're targeting a headless LXC focused setup managed from your Ubuntu desktop, you're already leaning into the most efficient way to use these resources. Here's a breakdown of how the setup looks and works. Physical, physical and logical layout. Okay, even though you have two physical laptops, Proxmox treats them as a single data center. Once they are clustered, you log into. This is interesting, dude. It's able to use both of their hardware as one. That is really interesting. Once they are clustered, you log into one web interface and see the CPU, RAM, and storage of both in a single sidebar. Node A and B, headless Proxmox VE installed on bare metal, and then the control panel is on your Ubuntu desktop. You don't install Proxmox software here. You simply point your browser to whatever IP and port. All right. The terminal, Kitty on Ubuntu, you'll SSH directly into the nodes for heavy lifting, but most daily container management happens in the browser. Uh, the quorum, the quorum problem, two node logic. In Proxmox, a cluster is a democracy. Decisions like starting a container require a majority vote. The issue in a two-node cluster, if one laptop goes offline, the remaining laptop has one out of two votes, which is 50%. 50% is not majority, so the remaining node will freeze and refuse to start or change any LXCs to prevent data corruption. The solution, since you don't have a third laptop, you have two choices. Queue device, use a third tiny device like a Raspberry Pi or even a VM on your Ubuntu desktop to act as a tiebreaker vote. The second choice, expected votes hack. You can manually tell Proxmox to expect only one vote. This is common in home labs where high availability isn't mission critical. Then LXCs versus hardware. Since you are using old laptops, LXCs are your best friend. Shared kernel, unlike a VM, and LXC shares the laptop's host kernel. This means if your laptop has 4 GB of RAM, an LXC might only idle at 20 to 30 MB, whereas a VM would grab 1 to 2 GB immediately. Hardware access. If one laptop has a better integrated GPU for media transcoding like Plex, you can pass through that hardware into an LXC much easier than in a VM. How the management works. You mentioned using Kitty and the Ubuntu control panel, quote unquote. Um, Here is how you will actually interact with it. Daily ops, okay, okay, okay. Hold on. Okay, wait, I'm a little confused. You mentioned both the laptops are treated as one entity. So, like, the hardware is joined together somehow. I'm not sure how that would work or if that even is how it works. Because how is one kernel managing the hardware of two laptops? Okay, that is a perfectly fair point of confusion. To be clear, the hardware does not physically merge. You aren't creating one giant super laptop with combined RAM and CPU. Instead, Proxmox creates a unified management plane. Think of it like a Voltron. Think of it like a Voltron situation, and more like think of it as less like a Voltron situation and more like a command center managing two separate factories. How it actually works. Each laptop still runs its own Linux kernel and its own hardware independently. However, they share a brain, a service called Coro Sync that talks over the network. The shared view. When you log into the web interface, you see a tree on the left. It lists laptop O1 and laptop O2. You can click on either one to see its specific hardware stats. The one entity part, if you decide to create a new LXC, you simply right click and choose which laptop's hardware it should run on. If laptop O1 is getting too hot or running out of RAM, you can click migrate. Oh, that's convenient. You can just move the container over to a different hardware. That is so convenient, actually. Holy shit, dude. Okay. And Proxmox will move that container over to laptop O2 across the network. Headless Harmony. Headless Harmony sounds like such a cool name for, I don't know, a band or something. It just sounds really cool. Headless Harmony. Anyways, since you are using Kitty slash SSH, you can SSH into laptop O1 and still issue commands that affect laptop O2 because they share a synchronized configuration file system. To clarify your one kernel question, there is no single kernel managing both. Each laptop has its own kernel. When you launch an LXC on laptop A, it uses laptop A's kernel. If you move it to laptop B, it stops on A and starts on B, now using laptop B's kernel. Proxmox just acts as the manager that coordinates these handoffs, so you don't have to jump words, dude. So you don't have to jump between different IP addresses or separate logins. The reality of resource sharing. While they are clustered, you still have to respect the physical limits of the individual machine. If laptop A has 8 GB of RAM and laptop B has 4 GB of RAM, you cannot create a single container that uses 12 GB of RAM. However, you can have 5 small LXCs running on laptop A and 3 on laptop B and manage all 8 of them from one single screen on your Ubuntu desktop. Why do this instead of 2 separate installs? Centralized backups. You can tell the cluster to back up all the containers from both laptops to a single external drive. Ease of use, you only need to remember one URL/IP to manage your entire lab. Migration, if you want to reboot laptop A for updates, you can move your containers to laptop B first so your services don't go offline. This is holy shit, dude. This is so useful. This is so useful. Also, I just remembered that we were supposed to be um, learning Godot Rust. So I'm gonna step away from this and go back to Godot Rust. Okay, so we are reading this thing. Project setup. Please create a new project to start with a clean slate. Your project should contain one picture, the Godot icon, which we often use for prototyping in the community. All right. We need to create a Sprite 2D node and display it in the game. In the scene doc, click other node. Okay. Type Sprite 2D. Okay. Wait, is there anything more there? Oh yeah, basically just Sprite 2D. Your scene tab should now only have a Sprite 2D node. A Sprite 2D node needs a texture to display. In the inspector on the right, you can see that texture property says empty. You can see that the words. You can see that the texture property says empty. To display the Godot icon, click and drag the file icon.svg from the file system doc onto the texture slot. You can create Sprite 2D nodes automatically by dragging and dropping images on the viewport. Okay. We can do that. So, let's create a new scene. Okay, Control A, Sprite 2D, enter, then we can drag and drop the icon in there. All right, now done. Then click and drag the icon in the viewport to the center, to center it in the game view. All right, so let's zoom out. This is our viewport. We are gonna drag this to the center of the viewport, and yeah, we're done. Right. Then click and drag the icon to this. Click and drag the icon in the viewport to center it in the game view. All right. Creating a new script. Sorry, zoned out. Okay. Creating a new script. To create and attach a new script to our node, right click on Sprite 2D in the scene dock and select attach script. Now, I feel like this is where I should probably pause and go over to this, the hello world thing. Um, okay, so I've done a bunch of this stuff already that needs to be done. Give me a second, my browser froze. Okay, we're good. Okay, so this is our project structure that we need to maintain. Whereas, what is in Yahtzee here? Okay, Godot. All right, we can go back, go into Rust. This is our Rust project. This is our project root, basically. We also have our... So something that I've realized is that there's a very specific setup that you have to create. So what they recommend is you create a project root, but not a Godot project root. It's a different project root. You have like an overall project root. Within that, you have the Godot project and the Rust project. Because the Rust project basically, the Rust project is what you're going to use for the scripting, right? The coding, and that compiles to a library, and that library is what gets linked against or loaded, let's say, into well, actually, no. In this case, it is getting loaded in. It's though I'm curious. No, this is dynamically loaded. Okay, I was about to, because like the linked against thing, it comes for when you're compiling. Okay. Anyways, um, what was I saying? In trying to correct my possible mistake, I forgot where I was. So okay, the Rust project, it outputs a library. That library gets loaded by the editor into um, it gets loaded by the editor when you open up your project. And I think how it knows which library to look for is through the GD extension file, which we are yet to create. So, okay, this is the project structure, and I've already made this structure. Something else that I noticed is that they mentioned, they suggested, create the repo at the root of the project, so at the root of both of these projects. And you can't really have like a repo within a repo, or you can, but it gets a little complicated. So why was I mentioning about this? Yeah, when you are creating, actually when you're creating a Rust, um, when you're creating a Rust project, I believe it does create a Git thing. It creates a Git repo in there. So I think if I remember right, I had to mention a flag to stop it from creating a repo. Or I don't know. Hold on. I'm curious about this. Let's create a new tab and let's do a sum repo o2. Okay, sum repo o2. Open this up. In here, we will initialize a Git repo. Okay, that's initialized. Now we are going to create a new project. So cargo new, some, I don't know, some proj o1. Oh, my bad. That's not what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to do it here. Cargo new some proj o1. Give it a second. It's creating the package. Okay, so now this is created. I think, right. So now there's no repo here, right? What if I delete this and create uh, some proj o1, and in here, actually, for the sake of, I don't know if somehow that could be a confusion. For some reason, I'm just going to rename this. In here, I'm going to do cargo init. There's no Git repo here either. So now what I'm going to do is delete this repo. And we can also delete this. So now if I type cargo new sum repo o1, does this create? Yeah, it does. Okay. So I'm guessing cargo is clever enough to check if there, if words, if it is currently within a repo already. I should do some more research on this. So I don't think I had specified a flag, though I do believe you can specify a flag. Cargo init without git. If you want to globally prevent cargo, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. Oh, the flag is VCS none. So when you're creating the thing, like, okay, here I've created this project. Now I'll create a new project. Cargo new sum repo. Hold on. I named this sum repo. No, it was supposed to be some proj o1. Anyways, cargo new sum proj. Now let's say o3 just to stay away from that. Yeah. VCS none. Okay. And now let's create another one saying cargo new sum proj o4, but we don't specify VCS none. Yeah. So VCS none helps us prevent a repo from being initialized within that directory. Dude, I love how fast doing all of this is within a TUI file manager. Like all of this experimentation that I wanted to do, I did all of this within the terminal itself, and I had this convenient shell command line thing for single commands. Um, but even so, if even without this, if I needed, I could have just gone to uh, a different tmux window and easily, done whatever command line stuff I needed to do. I could have done that easily. And now that all of this is done, I can just clear the thing. I can delete the entire thing, and we are good to go. Oh, also I can delete this tab. Okay, all right. So this is our, oh, one more thing. We need to create a GD extensions thing. Oh, I'm gonna need to restart the editor. Well, that is once I've created the GD extensions thing, but yeah, I'm gonna need to restart the editor. Okay, create the Godot project. To use Godot Rust, you need Godot version of 4.1 or later. Feel free to download so and so, so and so. Okay. Open the Godot project manager and so and so. Add a sprite 2D to the center of a new scene. We recommend you follow the official tutorial and stop at the point where it asks you to create a script. That is quite literally where we just stopped creating a new script. I had a feeling that like I should stop and like move back to the Rust side. Okay, so this is done already. We've created the library. Our library project is created, and we also I had to make these changes. Let me open up the cargo toml. Yeah, I had to make these changes. I had to set the crate type to be cdylib. I think that stands for C dynamic library. And then I also had to add the Godot crate. I don't remember what the name was. It's mentioned somewhere here. It's just called Godot. Okay, the cdylib crate is not very common in Rust. Instead of building an application, a binary, or a library to be used by other Rust code, so a lib, we create a dynamic library exposing an interface in the C programming language. This dynamic library is loaded by Godot at runtime through the GD extension interface. Now add Godot Rust to your project. All right, then we do cargo build to compile the entire thing. Um, Even compile like the library that we just downloaded, the crate, the Godot crate that we just downloaded. Then wire up Godot with Rust, the GD extension file. This file tells Godot how to load your compiled Rust extension. It contains the path to it contains the path to the dynamic library as well as the entry point function to initialize with. First, add an empty .gd extension file anywhere in your Godot subfolder. In case you're familiar with Godot 3, this is the equivalent of gdnlib. In this case, we create res so-and-so inside the Godot subfolder and fill it as follows. Okay. Okay, yeah. So dot dot is to go back, and then we do Rust and target. Do we have all of that? Let's go to Rust. I Yeah, I think from the build we get it, and then what is it under debug? Lib your crate. Do I have to fill in your crate, or like what's the situation? Wait, I don't remember this because your crate was mentioned up here somewhere. You should output to your crate so and so at least one variation of a compiled library depending on your setup. Your crate. I think, okay, I guess your crate would then be rust underscore project, right? Part of dynamic library name, we use your crate placeholder. The thing is, I don't know if your crate can actually be like, is it an automatic placeholder that gets replaced? Or am I using this as a placeholder to replace manually? Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, zoned out. Okay. Okay, I guess we'll find out. We'll experiment and find out. Cause it's saying your crate. I don't Does it mention your crate somewhere here? Maybe that can clear up my confusion. I think your crate is something that we need to replace ourselves manually. So in my case, your crate is Rust project. Um, do I need all of these? Because I'm not doing Windows, I'm not doing Mac OS, as in I'm not working on them. I'm mainly running this on Linux. So do I really need the others? I don't think so because it's not even. Hold on, I don't think it's expecting me to have all three of them, is it? Let's see. Okay, the configuration section should be copied as is. The libraries section should be updated to match the parts of your dynamic Rust libraries. Um, the keys on the left are the build targets of the Godot project. Consult your GD extension docs. Consult GD extension docs for more possible values. The values on the right are file paths to your dynamic library. Okay. Um, File paths. Okay. this is the file path. What does this say? Debug lib. Oh, it does say it's already the name is already okay. Okay, this is a placeholder. We don't have to replace. Well, we yeah, we kind of have to. But yeah, Rust project. So if you notice it says, oh God, dude, chill out. Yeah. Um, if you notice it says librustproject.d and librustproject.so. And if we come here in cargo.toml, you'll notice the project's name is rust underscore project. Okay. Next, what do we need to do? Next, I think I need to create the GD extension. So we go back one step, and I think back another step because we are currently in source. And then we go into Godot. That is not working. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Okay. We are currently in the Rust project directory, not in the source directory. Yeah, that was my mistake. Okay, then Godot, and in here we create, what is it called? Hello world.gd extension. Okay, let's save that and check. Yeah, we have it. All right. Um, okay, the .gd extension file. Okay, wait, no, this is done already. Okay, the configuration section should be copied as is. The key entry symbol refers to the entry point function that Godot Rust exposes. GDX Rust init. Okay. We choose GDX Rust init, which is the library's default, but can be configured if needed. Key compatibility minimum specifies the minimum version of Godot required by your extension to work. Opening the project with a version of Godot lower than this will prevent your extension from running. If you build a plugin to be used by others, then set this as low as possible for maximum ecosystem compatibility. This might, however, limit the features you can use. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about the fact that at some point I might want to write plugins for Godot. I still don't know what exactly I'm going to be writing, if anything at all. But like maybe I could write plugins for Godot, just like how GD script allows you to write plugins, stuff to run within the editor itself. And yeah, I might be able to set up something like if there's something that requires me to um, if there's something that requires me to work very closely with the Godot editor, like let's say there's some ML or deep learning or robotics related stuff that requires me to work very closely with the Godot editor, I could create a plugin to bridge the gap between whatever the other project is and the Godot project, and use Godot as some sort of, I don't know, world for let's say the robot to train in or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas for like ways that it could be useful. But yeah, I should look into um, the plugin thing in the future as well. Once I know how to use Godot. For the time being, I barely know how to use the engine itself, let alone trying to make plugins for Godot. Okay. Key reloadable specifies that the editor should reload the extension when the editor window loses and regains focus. Okay. See Godot issue so and so for more details. If Godot is crashing, you may want to try turning off or removing this setting. All right. Okay, libraries section. Okay, the values so and so. Um, the res prefix represents the path to files relative to your Godot directory. Relative. Oh, that's why we do the dot thing to go one step up. That's clever. Okay, okay. If you remember the file structure, the Godot and Rust directories are siblings, so we need to go up one level to reach Rust. You can add configurations for as many platforms as you like if you plan to export your project to those later. At the very least, you need to have your current OS in debug mode. Oh, okay, there's two keys for each platform. Actually, there's for some reason four for Mac OS. Says ARM64. I'm assuming that's something phone related because like the ARM processor is for the phone, right? Okay, so we're just gonna do the Linux one. We don't need the others. Okay, you can also employ the use of symbolic links and Git submodules and then treat those as regular folders and files. Godot reads those just fine too. Okay. Dude, I didn't know that Git itself. So I knew that GitHub has like a submodules thing where um you can have like a you can have another repo linked within, or how do I say this? You can have a repo within another repo, but it's not exactly a repo within another repo. It's a repo being referenced in another repo. So, like if you look at it on GitHub, it's gonna appear as just another directory within a repo. So, like let's say you're within Twitch. TwitchLib is actually a very good example of this. What they've done is they've created the TwitchLib like main repo, right? That's the main TwitchLib repo. But then the TwitchLib library functionality, they divided it up into multiple components. And for each of those components, they created a separate repo. And then that repo is being added as a submodule within the main TwitchLib repo. Um, and this way you have like the functionality of all of them within one repo, but each of those repos is like its own separate repo. So they can all be worked on as separate entities and even be used in some other project if required. So I thought that that was a GitHub specific thing. I didn't know that Git had something like that as well. We are dropping frames. Okay. Right. We are dropping frames. So I'm going to wait until the frames stabilize again. Okay, I think we are good. All right, cool. Now, where was I? Yeah, I was talking about the um multiple. I was talking about like sub modules in GitHub. I for some reason thought it was specifically a GitHub thing. I didn't know it's a Git thing. I should look into that at some point. Man, I'm glad that I downloaded and started using. Should I do it in here? I don't want to close this one. What do we have here? Rust Godot project. I can do it here. Um, Not Git, Git UI. Can I not specify a path for this? What if I do this? All right. Let's go back. Rust Godot project. This is where we have the repo. Git UI. Yeah. I'm glad that I installed this. I started using Git UI because it made learning Git, specifically Git, not GitHub, learning Git. It made learning Git significantly less hectic. Things did get a little bit confusing um, when I wanted to do remote stuff, as in adding a remote. But that was more because I didn't fully understand how, um, I didn't fully understand the concept of like remotes, and more specifically how remotes are handled within Git. I also didn't understand stuff like, okay, when you, what was it? I think when you do a git pull from like a remote branch, it downloads the changes, but the changes are still being like kept somewhere. You then have to merge it into your branch. There is a way to like um, make that make that happen in one single step, but like these are the different steps that take place there. Oh, I think it was git fetch, not git pull. Sorry, I think it was git fetch to get the changes. Was it? I don't remember. I need to go and look into. I need to go play around with git stuff a little more. Yeah, yeah. The good news is I have SSH set up here, so I have two machines that I can actually at this point three machines. Actually, it's four machines, but like the fourth one I don't use. The third one is my current Windows laptop on which I've recently installed Ubuntu as like a separate, you know, as a separate OS, not as Ubuntu on WSL2, as a separate OS. So I could I could use that. I could um, use that to like set up the main repo on one machine on the network, and then set up um, a way to clone. Actually, that's a good idea. We can clone the main repo onto another machine and then make changes here and then push the changes, make changes there, and then pull the changes here and see how that whole thing is working. Okay. Also, good news. A while back, I looked into a Rust program, a Rust TUI program called Siri. This was a program that was specifically meant for displaying commit graphs of Git repos, and I liked whatever I was seeing in Siri, so I downloaded it and installed it, and there was one thing missing, which was a refresh functionality. I wanted a simple key that you can press to refresh the graph. And of course, it's easy to say that, oh, it's one simple key, but like internally, there's like, depending on how their um, architecture is set up, they're going to have to do a couple of different things to, reload or reset the graph. Um, So I was gonna spend some time like diving into the project with the help of some sort of like maybe GitHub Copilot or something, but I got busy with other stuff and I couldn't give it enough time. I did create a sort of feature request thing in the repo, and I think a month or two later, somebody had responded with a vibe coded version of the solution. They said that they vibe coded it, and they said that I can check it out if I want. I believe they also then later made a pull request for it. I don't know if they made it or if the dev saw that the vibe coded thing that they had done, and the dev themselves decided to create like a pull request, or how they did it. I don't know, but the dev started using that work, and then they built upon it, and they made whatever changes they needed to in order to properly integrate it within the program. And finally, recently, I think a month back, um, I got like a notification saying that this thing has been closed as completed. It's been marked as completed and it's closed. So they actually added that feature, and this is actually an amazing example of how vibe coding can be very useful for like a lot of different situations. I've had situations where um, vibe coding has, and I'm a programmer of like 10 plus years, more than 10 years at this point. I've been coding for more than a decade, right? And even I think vibe coding does have its benefits in like very specific situations. Not just if not only if you're a non-programmer, but even if you are a programmer, vibe coding can help save a lot of time. It can help build various types of blocks for you. And because you are a programmer, so you're going to be able to understand what those blocks are doing. And then you can modify it to your to suit your needs, to fit your needs, and integrate that within your program. So just like that, you have instantly had like a productivity boost, and just you're not blindly using the code that's been made by AI. Um, not that there's anything wrong with it. It's a little dumb to blindly use something when you don't know what the thing is doing. That's what I mean. Not that it's bad to use code made by AI. Just don't blindly use something that's made by AI. Especially if you're like trying to build, components for your project. Don't just blindly trust the code. Glance over the code and understand what it's doing, so you don't break anything, you don't create any security vulnerabilities or stuff like that. Give me a second here. Okay, yeah. Anyways, back to um back to this. So I need to copy the GD extension file. Do they have like a copy? Yes, they do. Copy to clipboard, and just give me a second here. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't sure what's in my clipboard. And when I'm dealing with tmux, like when I'm dealing with doing like copy paste over SSH through tmux into NeoVim, um, I need to be careful because I don't know when, in different situations, the clipboard being used is different, and I don't know what it's gonna end up pasting. So, okay, we have our, okay, this is our Rust. So here we have to write, what was the thing called? Man, I'm still glad that I came up with this. I didn't come up with it. I found out about this um, by doing research. This thing about, being able to bring up this menu with the list of buffers. Another very useful one is this. No. KB. Oh, it's only these two that are showing up. 2 is not showing up for some reason. Why is that? So we have 0. Uh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. It is only showing these two. Um, in another situation, it was showing like 0 all the way to 9. So it was showing like a bunch of the buffers, and we could then hit a specific number and load that. Either way, I like this. So eventually, when I have a whole lot of buffers open for whatever project, I can easily switch between them using this. Okay, so we are done here. What comes next? Actually, I just realized the time. So what comes next is rating someone because it is time to end the stream, unfortunately. Give me a second. I'm gonna open up this. I wanted to start the stream earlier, but then I got busy doing something and just got distracted. So like I started the stream later than I wanted to. Okay, let's see what this person is doing. Hold on. They are currently on BRB. Yeah, this person is currently on BRB. That's interesting. They are raising money for the Alveus Sanctuary. I like that. Okay, we're gonna go to someone else. Um, Hold on. There's somebody coding. Okay. I like this. There's someone with, they have that like, oh, why am I describing it? Never mind. Um, okay, okay. Okay, study with me. All right. What is this person doing? Their thing says, I think, study with me, work with me, open studio. I don't know what open studio is. Working quietly, chat so and so. Okay, oh, is this person using Blender? It's okay, it's a French stream. I don't see English mentioned here, so I don't know if we will be able to communicate in English. Otherwise, I would have loved to rated the stream. Rated the stream. I would have loved to rate the stream. Okay. Um, give me a second. I'm just scrolling and okay, someone is doing theoretical physics. Interesting. Someone is doing editing. Someone is doing co-work, productivity session. Um, okay, let's see if I'm able to raid this person. They are a VTuber. Um, Flow working style. Okay, let's open up this as well. Oh God, my fans are going crazy. This is, okay, we can't do this one. We can probably do this one. So I'm going to go here. I don't know what this person is doing. I hope we are able to drop a raid. Let me get the raid started and stop the RTMP feed before my CPU's temps just go crazy. Okay. The raid has been created. We are going to someone named Maple Shade 09. So that's going to be it for today's stream. We made some good progress today, some pretty awesome progress. I'm going to pause this exactly here. I'm not going to go further with this because I want to do this on stream. In the next stream, which I'm hoping is tomorrow, in the next stream, we're going to be, we're going to continue with this and do hopefully actual, Rust coding once we have done this entire setup. In the meantime, I'm going to continue with my other research, doing like terminal graphics stuff and doing a bit more research on like Proxmox, but mostly going back to the terminal graphics stuff because I want to spend more time with that. I should also give a lot more time to my content pipeline. I should start working on that as well. Somehow get things going, like even without using NLP and LLMs right now. I want to get things going in terms of automating the pipeline somehow. So I need to look into that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's stream. I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.